Howdy, folks. Woody Wallace from NeedCoffee.com here. Back again for another Wayhomer review. Here's how it works for the uninitiated. I have just left the cinema where I have seen a film, and I'm going to tell you about that film on my way home, because it's just simpler that way and saves everybody time. Yes. And I will say, my car is a little shaky, so if for some reason you fall into the seat, I apologize in advance. And if you vibrate off of where you're mounted, which sounds ruder than it actually is, I apologize, and we'll just wing it. So anyway, yes, the film we are here to talk about is Thor: The Dark World. Okay, Thor: The Dark World. Here's your synopsis. So, since we last saw the God of Thunder with a hammer in Avengers, he has taken Loki back to Asgard, where Loki has been imprisoned, and because the Bifrost, which is something called that goes both ways, because it was broken, the 9 realms have. It just occurs to me that if you haven't seen any of the Marvel films, first of all, I don't know why you would be watching this review, but you would have no idea what in the hell I'm talking about. Anyway, the 9 realms have gone batshit, basically, and Thor and his buddies have to go and clean up. However, there is a evil from the past, from Asgard's past, that is going to rise back up and attempt to kick it in the arse. And in fact, to kick all of reality in the arse. It's up to Thor, and again, his buddies, to try and save all of reality from the old evil. I suppose that works. Okay. So here's where we are. Again, for those of you keeping score at home. This is Chapter 2 of Phase 2 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Just to contextualize where I am with this. As you know, Phase 1, for the most part, I was pleased with. And since it topped itself off with the Avengers, which for me is about as effective as the best antidepressant on the market, i.e. I've watched it a really ridiculous number of times, then you know, I was pleased with it overall. It went out with a bang. And I know it's controversial, but I was happy with Iron Man 3. And in fact, in Phase 1 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, of all of those films, the weakest one I thought was Iron Man 2. Now, upon rewatching Iron Man 2, as I may have mentioned elsewhere, it occurred to me that its biggest crime was not being Iron Man 1, which is a lot to live up to, considering how really spectacular Iron Man 1 was. But, to me, and I know again, many would disagree, the second weakest one was Thor. Because, you know, among other things, it just felt like, I don't know, it felt like less, it felt like an origin story, but not as good an origin story as we've seen in the other films. And there were certain things, like the mechanics of the film didn't really work for me. Like the Warriors 3 were just basically there to give somebody else besides Thor a chance to wield swords and punch things, and 2, to let us go back to Asgard for a point of view thing there. So, just to, you know, don't get me wrong, characters are there to use swords and punch things and let you shift point of view in a lot of cases. But it just didn't feel organic, you know what I mean? It felt a little contrived. So yeah. So I was like, okay, well, let's see how they do with the sequel. Now, overall, I was very happy with this film. In a way that it satisfied me in a way that Thor 1 did not. And I think the thing is, for all of the radiant resplendency that the first film was supposed to have, I don't know that it did it for me. And I don't know if that's... And that has nothing to do with the fact that, you know, you spent part of it in New Mexico. It just, I don't know. It didn't feel as epic as it thought it was. Maybe that's the best way of putting it. Whereas this one's got a really good epic feel. I mean, you're hopping worlds, and I mean, you already know from the trailer that you've got Loki involved at a certain point. You get a lot of Anthony Hopkins being Anthony Hopkins. In other words, you know, just being Odin and totally selling the fact that, yes, I am king of all the universe, and your point is what? You know, and here's the thing. Sif and the Warriors 3 are much better served in this film than they were in the first one. I mean, if for no other reason, then Ray Stevenson looks like a much better Volstagg. I mean, in the first film, it looked like Ray Stevenson, and they basically put a pregnant belly on him. I mean, it was ridiculous. I mean, this is Ray Stevenson, all right? He brought us the only decent cinematic Punisher we've had, so give that man some respect, okay? So he looks like much better. They all look much better, and the story serves them much better. Are they there to punch things and wield swords and stuff and be basically, you know, extensions of Thor? Certainly. But it just feels more organic. It felt, and I was having enough fun where if there was a scene there, I just didn't care. Because as we've established, you know, they don't all have to be Merchant Ivory films. Just especially for Thor, I'm there for some adventure, lay it on me. Also, this has a definite increase in Idris Elba. And I personally think that... Oh, there he went. Sorry. Where'd you go? There you are. Oh, I'm going to be sideways. Okay. Hopefully I'm right side up at this point, but if not, I will probably flip it here. If I didn't flip, that meant I actually picked you up the right way around, because I'm not actually looking at you. I actually reached over without looking and got you. I used my daredevil senses. So I hope it's... Hang on, I'm stopping at a light. Okay, yes, that works. Mostly. So where the hell was I? Oh, yes, Idris Elba. In fact, my car mount obviously could use more Idris Elba, because Idris Elba means solid. And he is, yes, he's in this more, and he's perfect. I mean, there's lots of other places we could use him in the Marvel Universe, but considering that, you know, he's doing so much awesome stuff elsewhere, fine, Heimdall, whatever, that's fine. Christopher Eccleston is a decent villain. I mean, there's not a lot of range to this villain. It's just more like, you know, revenge and rage and wearing a lot of makeup, and he does that well. What else as far as the cast? Oh, the one thing, speaking of cast, the one thing I will say, and I don't want to give anything away, but one character who is returning, they sort of did something a little wacky with him and didn't, I think, spend enough time explaining why the wackiness was there. So it felt almost too wacky, but again, luckily they didn't spend too much time on it, so it wasn't there long enough for me to get, you know, angry. So yeah, and Chris Hemsworth is a great Thor. I mean, he completely sells the fact. And what's great is, as witnessed in the trailer, he is a Thor who has learned. You know, he has learned that Loki at some point is going to betray him, and, you know, so be it. He's already planning for it. So it's smart. So yes, like the cast, like the epic feel of it. The story held together, it made sense. And there's a bit where it sort of fits into the rest of the cinematic Marvel universe, which is nice. So there's a lot going on here that I like. Like I said, there's that one character thing which is sort of present throughout most of the film, that is just sort of like, why you didn't have to do that? Why did you do that? And I will say this, having seen it in 3D, I would say skip the 3D. And the reason I say that is because, A, you know, I didn't really see anything in there that made me, for the 3D sake alone, because, you know, I've started docking a half a cup in my ratings if you waste my time with the 3D, okay? I didn't see anything in there that made me feel like I'd wasted my time. But it didn't really crank my tractor as well. In fact, I got more out of the Captain America trailer being in 3D than I did the actual Thor film. So for the whole 3D for 3D's sake, I'm going to give it a pass. However, and I understand that there's different types of cinemas with different sorts of setups and what have you, but at the end of the day, I paid my money and I don't care. I would say see it in 2D, because to me the 3D felt really soft. I mean, really soft and really, and it's weird. I don't know how much of it is the cinema, because it's like I've seen 3D films where everything's very crisp and very awesome, but this just felt really soft. Sort of like the opposite of The Hobbit high frame rate, in that everything was really stark and it made you want to blow your brains out. This was just sort of like, yeah. So it felt a little ill-defined, and it's for that reason the 3D is docking it a half a cup. But, I mean, the main thing is I had fun. I had a better time than I had at Thor 1. I don't even remember what I gave Thor 1, but I will give this. I would say, had I seen it in 2D, you would have been looking at a 4 out of 5 cup film, okay? But, to be fair, for the 3D, because I paid my money, then you've got 3.5 cups out of 5. And I'm still happy. I'm still happy with Phase 2. And I honestly think that Guardians of the Galaxy is going to be fun. Because, I mean, come on, we didn't know how they were going to pull off an Iron Man film. Hell, they pulled off an Avengers film. They made cinematic history. Surely a talking raccoon won't faze them, we hope. Anyway, just make sure the movie people keep making the movies and keep the comic people away from the movies. That's all I ask. Yes. So anyway, thanks for watching. Sorry that you went face first into the seat like that, but, you know, that's what passes for a thrill ride on the Wayhomer Reviews. Thanks for watching. If you do enjoy these things, please do 2 things for me. Number 1, share it somewhere, whether it's Facebook or Twitter or StumbleUpon or Flipboard or Pinterest or any of the 16. Now it's gone. In fact, it's gone up 2 social media networks since I started this review. We're now at 16,781 possible social networks. So just pick one, or hell, pick 2. And my beard looks huge at this angle. I'm so sorry. And share it, because that is how we get more eyeballs on this, and we certainly appreciate that. And if you enjoy these things and would like for me to be able to afford, obviously, a better mount, a mount with more Idris Elba to it, then yes, go to needcoffee.com/support. Throw some coinage into the virtual tin we have there, and we are most grateful for that, because it helps us keep the lights on. And pay for gas, which is, like, expensive. So anyway, I'm Widget Walls. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time on the Wayhomer Reviews. Bye.